G'day guys and welcome to the Centre Bounce, where today we'll be talking about those players with the early buys that we've got our eyes on. Stay tuned. Bigger J, Round Zero presents a very different challenge and an opportunity for us to see some of these premiums and mid prices in action.
I know we've said it in the live stream, and I definitely said it on there tonight, where every other year in Supercoach, we only have to take what we see in the preseason games as kind of facts, right? And the problem with doing with that is that they always play under different conditions. Maybe they're trying out different roles. I know a few of the preseason games are like, cool, we're going to play two halves instead of 2 quarters or 4 quarters. We're going to change things up. There's going to be no interchange bench or anything. Round 0 this year really gives us a chance to see live in action what's happening, where players are going to set up, because it's actually worth Supercoach point. Well, it's actually worth ladder points, not Supercoach points, but ladder points. It's real for the AFL teams, even though it's not real for us.
Correct. We're going to be focusing on the premiums and the mid prices. It won't be about the rookies today. The rookies will have their own dedicated videos. We're just going to go line by line, excluding the rucks, because there's nothing really. Everyone sort of knows what you're going to expect from the ruck line, I suppose. But we're going to go line by line and talk about all the relevant players, starting with the backline.
Yeah. First up on the list is Big Nick Dacos. I know there's been a lot of talk at the moment about preseason injuries, whatnot, but it really comes down to, is he fulfilling the same role? Do we think, hey, look, this guy's going to come in and dominate? If that's the case, if both of those things are ticked, you've really got to come in there and decide for yourself, do I want to start him? Do I not want to? What's my plans for him? Hopefully round 0 gives us a bit of insight into what we're looking at there.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, in terms of the early buys, when it comes to the defender premiums, really he seems to be the one that is sort of screaming out to be really among the uber premiums. It depends on what people consider Nick Newman, if he's going to be that sort of type of guy. But I think I'm seeing more people lining up with, trying to have Jaden Short in their plans, mainly because if we pull up the buy structure once again, seems to be the play that some people have got, that Jaden Short could reclaim his position of halfback under Adam Uze. If he does so, he's likely to make a bit of cash, considering he's not too expensive, and then sort of hope that as Nick Dacos comes off his buy and Jaden Short enters his buy, this could be the prime time to flip a Jaden Short to a Nick Dacos. So, However, they obviously want to keep a close eye on the preseason and in round 0 to really make sure that Short does play that halfback role.
Yeah, it's definitely something we've seen online and seen in the streams as well. Just being like, hey, Nick Dacos, after Hawthorn's games and whatnot, what can we do with him? Next up on the list, really, for me, is Lockie Whitfield. So someone who was a premium a few years ago, but has really, really maybe not fallen out of favour, but definitely fallen down the charts a little bit, being 14th ranked this year. GWS, we've spoken about with Tom Green, with Jesse Hogan and a few others. They've got a really easy draw to start the season. Yes, round 3 bye, but after that as well, I think Lockie Whitfield could be a fantastic pod and could really come in and start to dominate again. Depending on role, whatever happens, but definitely someone to watch.
Yeah, there's also someone like an Angus Brayshaw who probably thought might have been close to really being done in his career, and because of that, I wouldn't really consider him to be really relevant as a selection. He's one knock away from following Paddy McCartan's footsteps. Hopefully, we hope that doesn't happen, but because of that risk, probably wouldn't go there. Adam Sard, he sort of had a bit of a jump up last year, but with all those chefs in the kitchen, I don't think it's going to be unlikely that he manages to improve really a lot more on what he's had to offer. Who's our next genuine option that we want to talk about?
It's a guy that's always kind of teased us a little bit. Go down to number 44, Joe. It's Big Harry Himmelberg. I know that some have got him in their team as a fallen premium. Some people have them as a real option. If he comes out, I swear, and starts pumping out maybe a 130 in that preseason game, there's going to be quite a few people that are really going to jump on the pick and be like, yeah, Himmelberg's back. Let's go. For me, it's a bit of a watch, but I could be very much tempted.
Yeah, 100%, especially when he plays in round 0 against the Dirty Pies. If he goes and does really well there, he then backs it up with the games against North Melbourne and against the Giants. For me, I'm not entirely super keen about it because I do expect the Giants to really perform incredibly well, especially in rounds 1 and 2, which I think would mean that Harry Himmelberg might not get as much of the ball as he otherwise probably might if the teams were a lot stronger. But Harry Himmelberg was one of those big price rises from a couple of years ago, someone to keep a close eye on. Is that all that we've got for those potential premium scorers, or we got other people in the work?
There's one more player there on the list that I know you're not very keen on, but a lot of people have been talking about since Daniel Rich left. You scroll down to 81st on the ladder. It is Kadeem Coleman.
I was hoping you wouldn't talk about him.
It's looking like a lot of people are trying to jump on the pick. Currently 18% owned. And there is some talk that obviously we saw last year with Rich not in the team. Kadeem Coleman did take the role. We've gone through on stream, we've gone through on videos again, where we've analysed what his scoring was last year without Rich in the team, and it wasn't great. But things might have changed this year. A few of the other players coming in might have changed his role a little bit. So big watch and see for round 0.
18% with Kitty Coleman.
People looking for opportunities, Joe. That's what they're doing.
Look, to me, I don't mind. I think that's wonderful. It means 18% in the competition isn't my genuine, isn't really fighting for 50,000. So thanks very much, guys. Someone that I've sort of flagged in a previous video or on stream before is one Connor Buderick over there for the Gold Coast Suns, who has been touted to play the Jaden Short role over there by Dimmer Hardwick at the Gold Coast Suns. His draft profile suggests that he certainly has the skill sets in order to actually implement that role. Definitely going to keep a close eye on him, because if he can go 90, 95 odd, he can make us around $100,000, $100,000 to $150,000, which could make it really easy for us to upgrade him to a premium through a 1 down, 1 up. One that we really want to keep a close eye on if he can do that against the Tigers in round 0.
Yeah, I think depending on how the game goes, it could be really tight and you might see it. If he comes out and scores even at 85, close to a 90, I think a lot of people might be like, hey, jump on this player. I think the last one on our list is right down the bottom of our price range. Big Zach Williams, Joe. I know that, 61% of teams already, and he is a watch for me. We know how well he can score in the past, whatever's happening, but it really comes down to fitness and role. If he's got that halfback role, if he's got the time on ground, because obviously round 0 is worth points. They're not going to play him if he's not kind of fit. So if he's got those two things, I'm more than happy to start him. And, mate, he could be close to 80, 90% lock if he comes out with a decent score.
Absolutely, especially for his price point. It is well and truly good value. Anything below this point really gets into the rookie territory, and we're not going to be talking about the rooks today, as I mentioned before. I think it might be best if I just clear the team at this point to make sure that we've got enough money to start talking about the other lines. So now we get to the midfield, and we could have Clayton Oliver in there, but I'm pretty sure I read a report somewhere that Oliver might not be available for the first half of the season. He's only just regained, not even if it's not the first half, it might be the first few games. But if he's not going to play in the first few games, then he's not going to play in round 0. So there's nothing much to watch. Someone who will be playing, though, in round 0, barring injury, of course, is one Christian Petrarca, who's in 22% of teams. A lot of people seeing the potential upside in what he can do without Clayton Oliver in the side, which we know that he went about 124 average without Clayton Oliver in there. Having him feature in the early buys got him number 1.
Yeah, And the good thing is as well, Melbourne does have a few players in your team that you might have, like a Max Gawn, potentially a Billings, who we'll talk about in a little bit, and a Petrarca, but there really isn't going to be that many from Richmond. Unless you're doing something like going a bit anti-pod, things like that, you might only have 1 or 2 players out versus, if we have a look at the GWS game, for example, in round 3, or even round 2 or round 5. Round 6, there really isn't that many. Petrarca, we know how deadly he can be. If he comes out and scores big, you might be forced to pick him because he might not even drop that much in price. So definitely something to watch out for. Next one we've got there, as Joe is hovering, is Josh Dunkley. So someone who was a mainstay in our teams for many, many, many years in the forward line. For me, it's more just working out what his position and things are like. The early buy is a really good indicator of that. As we've said, kind of, hey, look, the teams are actually playing. But a good indicator of, do I think this guy is going to be a top 8? And should I start to make my plans to bring him in? There is an opportunity around kind of round 5, round 6, when your first upgrades start to happen, that you can start to do that. And Dunkley, if he comes out, Joe, and scores big, given he's got that round 12 buy and there's only 4 teams, I could be like, hey, get in my side early. I can have you for a really good buy. It's not a bad pick.
I think for me, the most important thing with looking at Dunkley is to see whether or not his decline in scoring last year was because of injury or if that was because of Ashcroft's disappearance. If it was because of injury, I know our good friend DR was saying that he was carrying something. It just is very coincidental that it just so happened to be around the time that Ashcroft went out. Want to see how he goes in round 0, whether or not it was injury and not Ashcroft. If it was injury, then all of a sudden he becomes more tantalizing. Errol Goulden, next off the rank. He obviously had a wonderful season last year, one of the best wingers who played a lot on the ball, was using his damaging run and incredible disposal to take the Swans to another level, as well as his career. Obviously, he's got an early buy, but he's got a terrific early run. So if he has a sensational round 0, then all of a sudden he could go up in price a lot before his buy.
Yeah, the good thing about these kind of players is you don't want to bring people in who are unobtainable, or miss out on those players that might be. Goulden is definitely someone, if he comes out and scores well, 622k isn't that, it's not that much in the scheme of things. But going up to 650, 660, 670, a lot of money. So Goulden could force people into their team, similar to the next guy down on our list, Big Tom Green, who is already in 22% of teams. Historically hasn't done so well in the first couple of games. I think North Melbourne, he scored like a 77. Against West Coast, it was like a 106. So they're not expecting huge numbers from him, but another year of development, the team getting stronger, probably those 2 teams getting weaker. Even though North Melbourne's lost a few players and West Coast definitely has as well, could be a real standout. And like with what we said with Goulden, right? These players, they come in, they force themselves straight into your team. Who's up next, Joe?
Look, Tim Taranto was one that we haven't probably flagged between ourselves off the air, but, he certainly was a very strong performer last year. Got to keep a close eye on Timmy T, but the person that we actually had on our list at this point was Sam Walsh. Big Sammy Walsh, incredible value at this price point. We saw what he did in the final series last year, which was incredible. His current ownership is at 34% for good reason. We know what he's capable of, and I know he's got the early buy in round 2, which sucks. He has a buy before a price rise, but the amount of value that he poses at that price point has people reckoning that it's enough.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if this guy comes back and scores the numbers he has, Sam Walsh is going to make 60k very, very quickly. Blues fans want him back. Carlton want him back. Supercoach fans want him back. I wish he didn't have an early buy, but it is what it is. Just above him, we probably didn't have him on our list, but Noah Anderson is one as well. Had a few people on stream talk about, hey, what's happening with Noah Anderson? Is he in our projections? Yes, he's had some monster scores, but I think someone else who we'll talk about in a little bit is a bit more of a must-have watch on our list.
Who is that?
Big Took Miller. Number 34.
Big Miller. Number 34. 25% of teams. So a quarter of people can see the potential upside in this man. Before last year, before he got injured, he went back to back 120s. So we know the capability and the caliber of this great man.
Yeah, no, he's a very, very good player. I think last year when he came back from injuries, potentially lost a bit of his positioning, or what happens with the captains sometimes when they come in, they're like, cool, I'm happy to play. Just give me a role to play. I'll kind of make the team work well. Duke Miller's got a lot of really young kids in his side. And with kind of the movement of Stewie Jew leaving and a few other things happening, that might have shaken things up too much for them. So Duke Miller's like, cool, I'll just stand back, whatever's happening. This year, though, under Dimmer Hardwick, definitely a watch and see where he plays. Dimmer wants to play finals. And that means Duke Miller comes in and plays a dominant role. So, round 3 bye stinks. But if you can get around that, he might be a viable pick. And he's so cheap, Joe.
Insanely cheap. Who else have we got? Who's next on the list there?
Next on our list, I want to touch on Josh Kelly a little tiny bit. I know people have been a little bit like, hey, Josh Kelly, what have you been doing? Super pod, though. Super duper pod. People were going to comment it down in the chat. I'm like, jump on it before everyone else jumps on it. But yeah, Josh Kelly, super pod. We'll wait and see what happens. But Tom Green didn't have good games against North Melbourne and West Coast. Josh Kelly, Canelio, they're the ones that blammo, Joe. They're going to go nasty if you just let them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Josh Kelly, his outside run and his ability to hit the scoreboard just makes him a really dangerous proposition. And I think his early start to the season against teams who are going to struggle on the outside, I think just makes him all the more tantalizing of a selection. Obviously, North Melbourne are great as contested ball players, not so much on the outside. Same thing with West Coast. Don't think their outside run is going to be so amazing.
I think next up on our list was number 141 in Angus Sheldrick. I know some people have been looking for around a 300k mid-pricer, and Sheldrick really offers that. There were times last year when he went bang. I think he dropped a 90 and then an 80 and some other scores as well. And mate, it was really exciting to see. I know the Swans have brought in a few other midfielders, whatnot, but if Sheldrick does really well, Joe, he could be an option there for a lot of people who maybe can't afford another premium, but don't want to get a Budarick or someone in the back line. But, we know kind of how well the backline rookies are and whatnot. He could be one. Next up on our list, I think our last player is Jared Lyons. So if you scroll a little bit back up, Jared Lyons, this guy was a premium 2 years ago. How cheap is he right now, Joe?
He's at 258k. That's absolutely ridiculous in 1% of teams. And really, if there's ever an opportunity for him to really feature in that midfield, you'd expect it to be this year without, obviously, Will Ashcroft in the side. He's been used as a sub, unfortunately. He's been really relegated down to a role player over there at the Brisbane Lions. But knowing what he can dish out for that price point certainly is very much underpriced. So one that you really need to keep a close eye on, Lions from the Lions.
Yeah, definitely. He doesn't have to play all year, but he can make some really quick money for you. Comes out, scores okay, even an 80 average. There goes your 150k that you need, Joe.
Exactly, 100%. So let me just come down here and clear out the team again. As we mentioned.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I was going to put James Jordan on there, though. I think there might be too many forward line rookies for us to talk about. So forward line players. Let's chuck James Jordan on that list. Has come across from Melbourne. Is looking like he might be playing a little bit of a wing outside role, which isn't fantastic for us in Supercoach, but definitely one to watch. Similar to a Goulden and a few of these other players. When so many players come into these teams, like, you just don't know what the makeup's going to look like, right? James Jordan has come from Melbourne. He's in 22% of teams, and players like him don't come across to play VFL. They've obviously said to him, hey, we want you. There's a position for you. It's just up to us to see that from him in the preseason games.
A little bit unfortunate that he was spoken to by the Swans first, probably got the promise and the allure of some mid-time, but then all of a sudden, very soon after, a guy by the name of Taylor Adams decides to make a move across to the Sydney Swans as well. This guy was the best 23 player in what was a premiership side for Collingwood in last year. If not for soft tissue injury, he would be wearing he would have a premiership medallion around his neck. He is not going to play VFL. He is going to play supreme minutes in the guts with his good old mate Grundy, if he's fit, of course. But the preseason reports have him as fit at the moment, and he is in 15% of teams because he could go 100 with enough CBAs.
Let's move on to the forward line.
Let's go to the forward line. I guess we start with everybody's favorite, Dusty Martin. You know, a lot of people, he's in 7% of teams, one of the best players to ever grace us on the football field, one of Punt Road's greatest warriors. And from reports, it looks like he's playing a lot around the ball, which is surprising at his age, but he continues to defy time by the looks of things, Dusty.
It's a tricky one because I think Adam Muse's come in similar to a Hardwick. Obviously, they've kind of gone to not each other's teams, but have gone to teams this year. Richmond wants someone to kind of stabilize the ship a little bit. A lot of people are touting them as maybe not even making finals this year, which for them, like dropping down to, you know, bottom six instead of being in middle or top six is very, very different considering they've, you know, how well they've done in recent years. So Dusty Munn is getting older. One last hurrah could definitely be there for them.
Yeah. We could talk Toby Green, who obviously has a great early fixture, as we mentioned, but I'm not sure if he's the one that's going to pop off. I think there's a fellow giant that could do it, but we'll talk about him a bit later. I think it's safe to say that Sam Flanders is on everyone's lips as well at the moment in 38% of teams. What sort of role is going to play under Dimmer Hardwick? We saw what he's capable of dishing out. The preseason reports seem to be pretty good, and that he's playing a lot of midfield minutes. And as long as we continue to see that in round 0, the more likely that this 38% will bump up.
Yeah, definitely. As we've said, right, Dimmer's come in. He knows what he wants. Flanders basically stayed. There's a lot of teams, Joe, that wanted his service, that were offering decent money to get him. But Dimmer said, hey, mate, you're going to play mids. You're going to play where you want. Done. So I think we're going to see decent scores. It's just the early buy. Like, that's all it is. Just hurts.
100%. Another Richmond player, Liam Baker, who from preseason reports appears to be playing a little bit more in the CBAs. And Chris from Supercoach Insider, big shout out to him, ran the numbers on Liam Baker, and he averaged around 100 when he got some good bulk CBAs. So it is a really interesting proposition. Already, some people have identified him, probably Richmond supporters who are, on Big Footy or from Tigerland, who are looking to see what the preseason training is like. So Liam Baker, if he has that midfield role and he stays there, could do really well.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of opportunities at that club to be able to play different positions, as we've said. Baker, he's always been on the cusp for me. Comes in, scores a decent score, then goes back to a 50, 60, 70. So definitely one to watch as potential. This is what this video is kind of about. Talking about potential scoring, I hate it because they play North Melbourne in the first round. But as you say, a fit Jesse Hogan goes bang. I don't think he's going to be a premium for the whole year, but he can easily make you a good 100K to start the season and be one of those kind of people who had Tex Walker a couple of years ago type players that just went bang, bang, bang. Definitely one to watch there. Is a bit of a cheaper price, and I know some people have been having trouble fitting in players. So watch and see for us.
100% a watch and see, especially because you guys with no key defenders, and then you look at West Coast the following week, who also have a terrible back line as well. So there's a lot of potential goals that are going to be going his way. It might be shared with him and Toby. really it's, I suppose, or maybe even a Cadman. So I suppose you're going to have to take your pick on who the one's going to go bananas.
It's kind of cheating. Like if he comes out and scores massive against North Melbourne, mate, you get a free like price rise out of him for nothing. So
Correct.
as long as you can play those 3 games, you're set.
Exactly. Who's next on the list?
We moved down the list a little bit. I think the next one on the list is Big Tom Lynch. We know kind of what he's doing at the moment in terms of preseason, in terms of training. But yeah, if he's fit, if he comes out, similar to a Hogan, we don't need him to play the whole year, but we get a free look. There's no risk at all in this pick. If he comes out and kicks a couple of goals, you're set. You're just like, cool, I'm happy. That's it. So definitely a watch and see for us in the preseason. A lot of Richmond players pulling up, Joe.
Yeah, it is. This is the line where we really don't have much hope and optimism. So really, all these Richmond players get their chance to shine for us, because I don't think they're going to be of much benefit to us during this season proper. Jack Billings is a Melbourne player, mid-pricer, who is in a lot of different teams. He's at 22% ownership, looking to be a best 23 type of player. They've lost some wingers over the years. They lost James Jordan. They obviously lost Jen Hunt, I think, the year before that. They picked up Lockie Hunter, but he's not a spring chicken. I think Billings offers them a different sort of look and also be a good connector between the wing and the forward line as well. So I think Billings is a fairly confident pick who's had a great discount due to the number of games or the lack thereof that he played last year.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'm not sure if there's any other ones on our list that we should really be having a look at.
I mean, there's a bunch of that are rookie price.
Well. Yeah. Jordan, we've spoken about others.
Correct. Yeah. But there's really not much else I think that is worthwhile when it comes to early buy type of players. James Jordan already spoke about in the midfield, as you say, and then everyone else sort of doesn't have an early buy.
I think there might be one. If we scroll down to big 162, he's only in 1% of teams. It is Dev Rob. We know that when Ashcroft went out, it felt like Dev Rob came in and played a lot more time. There's no more Ashcroft. And Dev Rob kind of, hey, I'm here. Play me in the team. He knocked back a 4-year massive contract from West Coast to stay at the club for only 2 years. So he's not like, he's not like he's going to play for a VFL again. So one to watch. We'll wait and see, but no harm in having a look at him in the preseason. It's a good price too.
Yeah. And those are the players, guys, that we have got ranging from premiums to mid prices of all these different teams who are playing in round 0 for us to have a close eye on in determining whether or not they come and feature in our teams.
Yeah. Keep an eye out for these guys, and also keep an eye out for them in the preseason training reports as well. We'll put out some more content, kind of just talking about which ones we like and which ones we don't towards the start of the season. But those are the things that, you guys support your team, so you can have a look at those too.
There's a bunch of other players that are going to be in the rookie price. I know someone like an Alex Sexton, for example. He's a rookie price type of player. So he will feature in the rookie version of this type of video that we're going to be looking at, as well as a different type of video where we will be giving you guys the reports on the rookies who are performing really well in this offseason, who are flying. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on any of these really crucial videos for your team building.
Yeah. Remember, guys, we've got our Supercoach League as well. So there's 3 amazing prizes you can win for that. We're going to put the link down in the description.
So make sure that you guys get involved, try and win some incredible prizes. And even if you don't win, but you come and you get lucky, you're still a winner anyway. Come and have fun, and make sure you follow us on our socials. We are trying to push the Facebook as well. Hit us up on Twitter and get engaged in any and all of our YouTube community posts, because we want to do the hard work that you guys want to see and answer all of your questions.
100%, Joe. They win just by joining our amazing community, mate. You guys don't need no prizes, do you? Let me know down in the comments. We'll go donate it to someone else.
Mate, prizes are great. Come on. I know
love
you can have
prizes.
some fun, but a free prize. Can't say no to a free prize. See you guys in the next one.